All right, so you know how sometimes when you're really trying to learn something new,
Yeah.
you come across these like super fascinating facts or stories
Yeah.
that seem really interesting and they kind of grab your attention, but then you realize they don't really have anything to do with the main thing you're trying to learn.
Yeah. Like, a
It's
couple.
like they're these shiny distractions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually what we're diving into today. This
Okay.
idea of what researchers call seductive details,
Oh,
and whether these tempting tidbits actually help us learn or if they just kind of clutter up our brains and make it harder to really understand the important stuff.
interesting.
And for this deep dive, we're looking at a meta-analysis called Keep It Coherent, a meta-analysis of the seductive details effect,
Okay.
which was done by Sudarajan and Edisop.
Got it.
And this meta-analysis is huge.
Wow.
I mean, they looked at a ton of research,
But how many studies are we talking?
like 58 different papers,
58.
over 7,500 participants,
Wow.
and 68 independent findings.
That's a lot of data.
So we're dealing with a really solid base of research here to give us a good understanding of what's really going on when it comes to these seductive details.
Yes, definitely. That sounds pretty comprehensive.
So let's jump right in with the big question.
Okay.
Do these seductive details actually help us learn?
Well, it's funny because you'd think that making something more interesting would make it easier to learn.
Right, like it would help us remember.
Exactly. But the main finding from this meta-analysis actually suggests that people learn less effectively when they're exposed to these interesting but irrelevant details.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're saying that on average, these engaging bits of information are actually making it harder to learn.
It seems that way, yeah.
It's so counterintuitive.
I know, right?
Like, why would that be?
Well, the researchers have come up with a few different theories.
Okay.
The first one is attention distraction.
Okay.
So the idea here is that these interesting details basically pull your focus away from the important information.
Right, like they're competing for our attention.
Exactly, and there's some research to back this up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like Lehman and also Chang and Choi, they found that these seductive details can really distract learners from the main content.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Like when you're trying to read a recipe.
yeah,
And there are all these like extra tips and stories scattered throughout
exactly.
that are interesting but not actually helpful for making the dish.
Right, it's like trying to follow a map with all these like flashing billboards all over the place.
Yeah. And you end up getting lost.
Exactly, get sidetracked.
So that's attention distraction.
Right.
What's the second theory?
The second one is coherence disruption.
Coherence disruption. Okay.
So this theory basically says that these irrelevant details make it harder for you to connect the dots and build a clear understanding of the main concepts.
Okay, so they disrupt the flow of information.
Exactly. And this idea is supported by research from McCrudden and Corkill and also Towler and some others.
So it's like those irrelevant details create these little breaks in our understanding.
Yeah, it's like trying to build a puzzle, but some of the pieces don't actually belong.
And you end up with this like fragmented picture.
Exactly, and it's harder to see the whole.
So that's coherence disruption.
Right.
And what about the third theory?
The third one is called schema interference,
Schema interference.
which is sometimes also called diversion.
Gotcha.
And this one suggests that the interesting but irrelevant information might actually activate the wrong prior knowledge in your brain.
Oh, so it's like leading us down the wrong mental path.
Yeah, kind of like you're trying to find a file on your computer, but you click on the wrong folder because it has a similar name.
And then you get totally lost in the wrong directory.
Exactly. And this idea is supported by research from Harp and Maslish and also Sung and Mayer.
So it's like those seductive details are triggering the wrong connections in our brains.
Yeah, that's the idea.
That makes sense too.
And what's really interesting is that Lehman and I think a couple of other researchers found evidence for all three of these explanations in a study they did back in 2007.
So it's not just one thing.
Right.
It's like a combination of attention distraction, coherence disruption, and schema interference all working together to make it harder to learn.
Yeah. It seems to be a pretty complex interplay of factors.
So that gives us a good understanding of why these seductive details can be detrimental to learning.
Yeah, definitely.
But, the paper also mentions that it's not always a negative thing.
Right.
Like it's not always bad to have these interesting but irrelevant details.
Yeah, some studies found no significant effect,
Oh, really?
and a few even found a positive effect.
Wow. So there are some cases where those seductive details might actually be helpful.
It seems that way.
Okay, so
Also,
it's not a simple black and white issue.
Not at all.
It's more nuanced than that.
Definitely.
There are a lot of "it depends"
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's dig into some of those "it depends."
Okay.
What are some of the factors that make a difference in whether these seductive details are helpful or harmful?
Okay, well, one of the first things they looked at was the format of the seductive detail itself.
Okay.
So were the seductive details static, like an image that stays on the screen, or were they dynamic, like a GIF or a short video?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And they actually found that static seductive details had a much stronger negative impact on learning.
Oh, so like a still image is worse than a moving image.
That's what the data suggests, yeah.
But why would that be? You'd think that the moving attention-grabbing stuff would be more distracting?
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, but the researchers think it might have something to do with how deeply we process the information.
Okay.
So like a GIF or a video, it's there for a short time and then it's gone.
Right.
But a static image stays there and our attention might keep going back to it over and over again.
Oh, so it's like a more persistent distraction.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
And the meta-analysis also looked at the specific format of the seductive details.
Okay, like were they text or images or audio or what?
Exactly. And they found that when seductive details were presented in both text and image formats, the negative effect was really strong.
Oh, so like a combination of text and visuals is the worst.
It seems to be. But
Wow.
why? Well, it could be that when we're getting irrelevant information through both our visual and reading channels, it's just too much for our brains to handle.
Right, like it creates cognitive overload.
Exactly. And we have less mental capacity left to focus on the important stuff.
That makes sense.
And they also found that using just photos as seductive details also had a negative impact,
Okay.
while audio alone had a smaller negative effect.
So it seems like visuals are more distracting than sounds.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
Okay, so we've talked about the format of the seductive details themselves.
Right.
What about where those details appear in the learning material?
Oh, yeah, that's another interesting one.
Like, does it matter if they're at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end?
You would think so, right?
Yeah, like you would think that maybe starting with something interesting would be a good thing, even if it's not directly relevant.
Right, or maybe ending with a memorable detail would help with recall.
Exactly.
But actually, the meta-analysis found significant negative effects regardless of where the seductive details were placed.
Really?
Yeah, so it seems like the placement doesn't really matter that much.
So it's not about when we encounter these distractions.
Right.
It's just the fact that they're there at all.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's placement.
What else?
Oh, I know this is interesting.
Okay.
What about the other stuff that's in the learning material?
Oh, yeah, like the stuff that's not seductive detail.
Exactly, like what's surrounding those seductive details?
Yeah.
Does that make a difference?
Oh, that's a really good question, and it turns out it does.
Really?
Yeah, they found that when the learning material without seductive details was very plain, like just text or very basic diagrams, the negative impact of the seductive details was even stronger.
Oh, so if the main information is presented in a really dry way, then the flashy stuff stands out even more.
Exactly. It's like if you're watching a boring lecture
Uh-huh.
and then suddenly there's a funny video clip.
You're going to pay more attention to the video clip.
Exactly.
Even if it has nothing to do with the lecture.
Right, because it's the
Yeah.
only thing that's grabbing your attention.
So it seems like the context really matters.
It does, yeah.
If the main learning material is already engaging, then the seductive details might not be as distracting.
That's the idea.
But if the main material is boring, then those seductive details can really hijack our attention.
Yeah, they become even more seductive.
Okay, so that's the surrounding context.
Yeah, and there's another interesting finding related to this.
Okay, what's that?
So they found that when the learning material without seductive details actually included photos, the negative effect of the seductive details was actually reduced.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and in some cases, it even seemed to reverse the effect.
Wait, so you're saying that if the main learning material has photos, adding some irrelevant photos might not be so bad or could even be helpful?
That's what the research suggests, yeah.
That's so counterintuitive.
I know, right?
It's like adding more distractions actually makes it easier to learn.
It's a bit of a head scratcher, but it could be that seeing photos in general helps to activate our visual processing systems.
Okay.
And then we're better able to filter out the irrelevant photos and focus on the relevant ones.
So it's like priming our brains for visual information.
Yeah, maybe.
That's fascinating.
It is, yeah. It raises some interesting questions about how we learn from visuals.
Okay, so we've talked about the format of the seductive details and the surrounding context.
Right.
What about the way that the material is presented?
Oh, yeah, like the delivery format.
Exactly. Like, are we reading it on paper? Are we watching a video? Are we listening to an audio recording?
Right. right.
Does that make a difference?
It does, yeah. They found a much larger negative effect when the learning material with seductive details was paper-based compared to digital presentation.
Oh, so like reading a textbook is worse than watching a video online.
That's what they found, yeah.
But why would that be?
Well, there are a couple of possibilities.
Okay.
One is that in digital formats, we often have more control over the pace of learning.
Right, like we can pause, rewind, fast forward.
Exactly. And that might help us to stay focused and avoid getting bogged down in the seductive details.
Whereas with a textbook, you're kind of stuck with the pace that the author sets.
Right. And you might be more likely to linger on those seductive details.
And the other possibility.
The other possibility is that with paper materials, it's easier to go back and forth.
Right, like you can flip back to a previous page if you need to.
Exactly. And that might actually make the seductive details more distracting.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. If you're reading a textbook and you come across a seductive detail, you might flip back a few pages to see if it's connected to something you read earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And then you might get sidetracked and start reading something else that's not relevant to the main topic.
So it's like creating more opportunities for distraction.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and it's something to keep in mind when you're choosing learning materials,
Definitely.
especially if you know you're easily distracted.
Okay, so delivery format matters.
It does, yeah. What else?
Oh, this is interesting.
Okay.
They also looked at the language of the learning material.
The language.
Yeah, like was it in English or Spanish or Chinese or what?
Oh, wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and they actually found that the negative effect of seductive details was bigger when the learning material was in Korean or Chinese compared to when it was in English.
Really? So seductive details are more distracting for Korean and Chinese speakers.
That's what the data suggests. Yeah.
But why would that be?
Well, the researchers aren't entirely sure, but they have a couple of ideas.
Okay, what are they?
One possibility is that it has something to do with how novel these types of seductive details are in different cultures. Okay, so like maybe in some cultures, these kinds of engaging but irrelevant details are more common in educational settings,
Yeah, so they're not as distracting.
whereas in other cultures, they're more unusual.
Right, so they stand out more and grab our attention.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and the other possibility is that it's related to cultural differences and learning styles.
Oh, interesting.
So, like, maybe some cultures are more accustomed to learning from information that's presented in a very linear, straightforward way,
Okay.
while other cultures are more comfortable with a more holistic approach where there are more connections and tangents.
So maybe those cultures are less likely to be distracted by seductive details
Exactly.
because they're already used to processing information in a more interconnected way.
Right.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it definitely highlights the importance of considering cultural factors when we're designing learning materials.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the format of the seductive details, the surrounding context, the delivery format, the language.
Right.
What about the subject matter itself?
Oh, yeah, that's another important one.
Like, are seductive details equally harmful across all subjects?
Well, you might think so, but actually they found some interesting differences.
Really?
Yeah, they actually found a positive effect of seductive details in mathematics and statistics learning material.
A positive effect.
Yeah.
Wait, you're saying that adding irrelevant information actually helped people learn math and stats?
That's what they found, yeah.
That's so
I
wild.
know, right? It goes against everything else we've talked about.
Totally. But why would it be different for math and stats?
Well, the researchers think it might have something to do with anxiety.
Anxiety.
Yeah, so like a lot of people find math and stats intimidating, and they might avoid learning about it because it makes them feel anxious.
Right.
But if you add some engaging, even if irrelevant content, it might make the subject feel less daunting.
Okay, so it's like lowering the barrier to entry.
Exactly, and once people start learning, they might find that it's not as scary as they thought.
And they might even start to enjoy it.
Right, and then the seductive details actually have a positive effect because they helped to get people over that initial hump of anxiety.
That's a really cool idea.
It is, yeah. It suggests that sometimes a little bit of fluff can actually be beneficial.
Especially if it helps to motivate people to learn something they might otherwise avoid.
Exactly.
Okay, so subject matter matters.
It does, yeah.
What about the learners themselves?
Oh, yeah, like their individual characteristics.
Well, not so much their characteristics, but more like how they interact with the material.
Oh, okay.
Like, do they have control over the pacing? Can they go back and review things? Does that make a difference?
Oh, yeah, that's another good one, and it turns out it does.
Really?
Yeah, they found that allowing learners to go back and review the material seemed to lessen the negative impact of seductive details.
Oh, so if you can revisit the information, it's not as bad.
That's what they found, yeah.
But why?
Well, it could be that when we can go back and review, we have a better chance of sorting out the relevant from the irrelevant and re-engaging with the core concepts after we've been distracted.
So it's like giving us a second chance to focus.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
And it's something to keep in mind when you're studying.
Right, like if you're reading a textbook and you find yourself getting distracted,
Yeah,
just take a moment to go back and review the main points.
exactly. It might help you to stay on track.
Okay, so allowing learners to backtrack seems to be a good thing.
Yeah, it seems to help.
Now, how did the researchers in these studies know if the seductive details were actually interesting and irrelevant?
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Like, did they just assume?
No, they actually checked in a lot of the studies.
Oh, okay. How did they do that?
They used what are called manipulation checks.
Manipulation checks.
So basically, they just asked the participants.
Like, hey, did you find this interesting?
Yeah, basically. And did you think it was relevant to the main topic?
Okay. And what did they find?
Well, they found that even when the participants confirmed that they found the details interesting and irrelevant, the negative effect of those details was still there.
So it's not just a matter of the researchers thinking something is seductive.
Right.
It's actually based on the learner's perceptions.
Exactly.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah, it means the findings are more robust.
And finally, let's talk about how learning was measured in these studies.
Oh, yeah, like the assessment methods.
Exactly. Did the type of questions they used make a difference?
Yeah, they found that open-ended recall questions where you have to come up with the answer yourself showed a much bigger negative effect of seductive details compared to multiple choice questions where you just have to pick the right answer.
Oh, so it's harder to remember the information if you've been distracted by seductive details.
That's what they found.
Yeah.
And why would that be?
Well, it probably has to do with the different cognitive demands of those two types of questions.
Okay.
So open-ended recall questions require you to really dig into your memory and retrieve the information,
And that's a lot harder to do if your brain is cluttered with irrelevant details.
whereas multiple choice questions are more about recognition.
Exactly. You just have to identify the correct answer from a list of options.
And that's less demanding on our memory.
Right. And it's less likely to be disrupted by seductive details.
So it seems like the way we assess learning also plays a role in how much of an impact those seductive details have.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's one more interesting finding that we should mention.
Okay, what's up?
The meta-analysis found a trend suggesting that the negative effect of seductive details might be bigger for learners who have no prior knowledge of the subject.
Oh, so like if you're a complete beginner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might be more easily distracted by interesting but irrelevant information.
Because you don't have the background knowledge to filter it out.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like you don't have the mental framework to know what's important and what's not.
Right, you're more likely to get caught up in the shiny stuff.
So it seems like having some prior knowledge can actually help to protect us from the negative effects of seductive details.
Yeah, it gives us a better foundation to build on.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it highlights the importance of building a strong knowledge base.
Absolutely.
So as you can see, there's a lot to consider when it comes to seductive details.
Definitely. It's a much more complex issue than we might have initially thought.
Yeah, it's not just a simple matter of interesting things are good for learning.
Right. It's more nuanced than that.
For sure.
So for our listeners out there, what's the main takeaway from all of this research?
I think the most important thing to remember is that while those interesting tidbits might seem appealing and like they could make learning more engaging, they can actually make it harder to learn and remember the important stuff.
So be wary of those seductive details.
Exactly. They might be more harmful than helpful.
But as we've discussed, it's not always so simple.
Right.
There are a lot of factors that influence whether seductive details are good or bad.
Yeah, it depends on the format of the details, the surrounding context, the delivery format, the subject matter, even how learning is assessed.
So it's really about being mindful of those factors.
Exactly, and understanding how they might be influencing your own learning.
So here's a final thought for you to ponder.
Okay.
Given all this research, how might you approach the information you consume differently when you're really trying to learn and understand something deeply? Should you actively try to identify and filter out those seductive details, even if they seem really interesting in the moment?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's definitely something to think about.
It is, yeah, and we encourage you to explore this topic further.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot more to learn about the seductive details effect.
And how it can impact our learning.
Exactly, and understanding how we learn most effectively is a powerful skill.
It really is.
It allows us to take control of our own learning process.
And achieve our goals.
Exactly.
So keep learning, keep exploring, and be mindful of those seductive details.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.